You all, we are not licensed professionals. You know, we are just here on this roller coaster called life, trying to be better friends to one another, trying to be better human beings on this planet. If you're tuning in, we are not opting out of therapy. We are not advocating that you listen to us and not see someone who is licensed and trained to help you with day-to-day life on how to cope and deal. So we advocate for therapy a lot here. We believe that everyone has something to talk to somebody about. So, just like to make that disclaimer that we're just here giving our opinions and having discussions week by week. And we're hoping that, you know, maybe you can find something useful, or if at least find a little humor in this terrible, terrible rock we call the world.
In other words, if you listen to our advice and you get popped in the mouth, don't at us.
Yeah, don't at me because you may get popped in the mouth again. Welcome back to Friendship University. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. As you all know, we are a podcast where we explore how to create, maintain, and develop the lost art of friendship, because around these parts, we believe that friends are worth fighting for. Last week, if you tuned in, you know that I had a special guest because our dearly beloved co-host Miki was in Spain living his best life. But he is back.
And we back, week. Baby. Hey.
I'm so happy that you're back and you're safe and sound. Well, and I kind of feared you weren't going to come back. I was like, he's going to go to Spain and just figure it out and never come back.
I thought about it. Actually, to be honest, I almost didn't make it to Spain. Super TLDR. My flight was overbooked on the way out there, and they were slagging money to get off the flight. Mm-hmm. And if I told myself if it gets up to a certain amount, I'm just not getting on the flight. Unfortunately, it didn't get to that point, so I still went. Had a really, really good time, but I am back.
You're back.
I missed you.
I missed you. I miss you. I'm talking to you, baby. I'm thankful that you're back. Can you give me like one highlight from Spain?
The demolition derby that happened on the
You
beach.
saw a demolition derby?
Okay, well, more so like, okay, yes, but like exchange the cars with people's bodies and like people running into each other. Hot tip, don't go to a hot beach drunk and do like physical activity. It'll probably not work out for you.
I think that's a good tip. Well, I'm happy that you're back. Everything happens for a reason, so the money didn't come because you were supposed to experience what you experienced. So I'm glad you're back. How you doing since you've been back?
I'm tired. I'm jet lagged. That was my first international trip, and it was like a quick turnaround. So it was only like a week. So my body is still like, am I on the East Coast or am I on like Central European time or whatever? So pretty tired, honestly. When I get tired, my anxiety can be a little bit higher too. So I'm like, woo, I'm going crazy. But no, good though. I've had a really good time. Looking forward to easing back into this ghetto here capitalism that we live in.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I don't know scientifically how to explain it, but there's definitely something that happens to your brain when you feel exhausted or tired, and it just doesn't work at its full capacity. So
also, time is weird out there.
Does it exist?
Right, the time exists. No, the weird thing is like someone told me like it's because we were like close to like one of the like where the time zones change. I don't know if this is true or not, but the sun doesn't set out there really. Like the sun was out at like 11:30 p.m. and I was like, where are we? Like what's happening right now?
That's fair. Do you know what exactly city you were in? I can't remember. Huelva. That's closer to the water than I was when I went to Madrid, but I can attest that I can remember the sun not completely setting. Like it always seemed a little dim.
Right.
Outside,
not fully dark.
Not fully dark. How you go out here, especially like there are certain areas that don't have street lights and stuff, and it's just like pitch black. Mm-hmm. And you're using like headlights and stuff. I can remember like being outside and walking and feeling like This seems pretty bright.
Yeah, it was weird.
So
It was like being in the Twilight Zone.
yeah, well, you made it out of the Twilight Zone. It was a good experience. So
Really good time. Yes,
it
for
was a good
sure.
time. Well, we're happy to have you back, and we thank our special guest that joined me last week. We're going to hop into what you all came here for us. As you know, we come out every Friday, Friendship Fridays. And we hope that you all had a fabulous holiday weekend. I say that because some people had a 3-day weekend. It was Juneteenth, yeah. And I don't mean to say that begrudgingly, because I love the fact that Juneteenth exists and, we're recognizing it. But it's two sides to every coin. What national recognition means access to national capitalism and monetization.
It's the freedom for me.
It's the freedom. It will... Walmart, I want you to know I will never let you live that down. That may mean you will never be a sponsor of our podcast, but that's okay. Because you need to know that was not okay.
Someone approved that.
Someone approved it. Approved the saying, the design, and the rollout, and just said slap it in every store we can. So yeah, that means monetization. And then, my hot take, honestly, we should have kept the holiday to ourselves. But
most things we should have kept for ourselves.
We should have kept it to ourselves. But I'm thankful that some of Black people, they now get that time off, like how you get July 4th off and different things like that. So it's fine. I mean, even though technically we still had slaves Juneteenth, but it's fine. They still were figuring it out. We still had slaves in Louisiana and the Gulf South.
Didn't slavery just
States.
actually become illegal in Mississippi in the past decade?
Yeah, I think 2013 is when they officially updated the law. So technically, what ended up happening is, and I don't know this because Mississippi may have very well still had slaves. Who knows? But what I'm thinking is what happened is they did eradicate the law, but they failed to ratify the law within their state, constitution or something like that. So they say that the state secretary or someone around that time just so happened to forget to send in the paperwork after they ratified the law. And maybe it was a senator or something. And it just never got ratified. So when it was caught, they immediately sent it over, and it took a couple of days, and then I think that was 2013 where that happened. But it's Mississippi. You just really never can. If you've ever seen Mississippi burning, you can't ever put anything past Mississippi. So yeah, that's a state that I won't stop in if I'm driving through, for sure. I've been to Mississippi. A school in Mississippi tried to get me to go there on a tennis scholarship, and I was like, y'all are setting me up. I'm not coming to Mississippi. Are you crazy?
Never been. Have no interest in going.
No,
I don't know anything about Mississippi.
I don't think anything's there. Even though I do. So there is a state that I do want to go to visit. A city within a state. Montgomery just opened up a new museum, and before I butcher it, let me actually just look up what the museum. I think it's called Legacy Museum, but let me just look it up. I want to go. I've been to the Civil Rights Museum in Birmingham, seen the church with the girls. I just had a friend who went to Legacy Museum for their first official Juneteenth celebration, and they were telling me how great it was. So you go to a lot of museums and it's all about the civil rights and the people who were pivotal in those moments, and just kind of that history. And you may see a few names that you've never seen before in that museum. But they were saying the Legacy Museum in Montgomery was actually a deep dive into the transatlantic slave trade. So it was more information about that. I think they said 4 exhibits, takes you a few hours to get through, really in-depth videos and all that, audio footage to go along with it. So I said maybe I'll, go out there, Check it out.
I told myself I would never go back to Alabama, but maybe I'll go for that.
Why you don't ever want to go back to Alabama?
I'm not a big fan of like the South in general. So Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida.
Tragic. That's why.
Truly America as a whole, actually. Nothing about it, all 50 states. Really not a big fan at this point.
2 out of 10 would not recommend.
Yeah. Yep. Retweet.
That's fair. Okay. So if you are just now joining us, welcome. If you are returning, welcome. We thank you for taking the time to listen to us again another week with our ratchet shenanigans. So each week, we like to open up with an icebreaker. For the last few weeks, it's been a question because that's just the flow of how it's been going. And it's going to be another question this week. So I was wondering, we're celebrating and thinking about Juneteenth and everything. Can you think about the first time you realized you may have had a friend that was quote unquote not like you? Like not black, not a person of color? If you have had one. And I say that hypothetically because I know for a fact.
Wow. Yeah, you know who my best friend is. Well, one of my best friends. Anyway, but yeah, no. Most of my life I've had other race friends. I didn't really think about much about like what that meant for me or like what it meant for our relationship until probably high school. Honestly. So for those of you who don't know, I grew up in a primarily Caucasian town. Like my graduating class had maybe 15 nigglets.
Woo! Can't relate.
So yeah, most of my life I've grown up around like, people who were Caucasian or who didn't look like me. But even down here in the South, like it wasn't a really big thing of the fact that I wasn't like Caucasian. Like no one was ever like flat out like rude or disrespectful or anything like that. But yeah, not until high school, I would say that's when it like first started to like become more apparent. We were just like, you're treated a little bit differently than me. That's interesting. Or like, like we have different experiences, whatever the case may be. Even in high school still, like it wasn't like a massive thing. Like no one ever really like bullied me for my race or anything like that. And like no one like ever like made it a big thing between me and my best friend. Like my best friend didn't make it a big the fact that I was black. I didn't make it the fact that he was white. Like, it just wasn't a thing. After graduating, it became a little bit more apparent because, the whole rise of the Black Lives Matter movement and stuff like that. That's when it was more of like okay, like, we do have these different experiences and we are not, it's like we're similar in the sense of like we enjoy certain things and stuff like that. But as far as like our relationship goes and stuff like that, this is a hard question to answer.
So it sounds like you're saying it was more outside factors that made you realize like y'all were living two different experiences in life versus like in the relationship between you and this person.
Pretty much,
like
yeah.
You saw the way they were treated maybe versus the way you were treated by staff or teachers or
like peers and stuff like that, like or even like staff or whatever the case may be. One experience I had from that as far as like the difference in our race kind of thing, we went on a vacation together, actually the same exact vacation I talked about a few
the one where y'all were playing that game
and yeah, he got mad at me.
Yeah.
So same exact vacation as that one. On the way back, his mother had got pulled over for speeding. And like the officer was like super chill or whatever with them. And then he like looked in the back seat and there I was, all chocolified. And he was just like, who's that? And there's like pretty much like, she calls me her other son because we are just that close or whatever. And she was like, that's like my literally other child, like my son's best friend. He's like, interesting. Like, where are you coming from? Or like, what's his name and stuff like that, like really like hounding her about like what is this black man doing in your car kind of thing. So that was probably the first time it really like came up and I was like, well, that was weird. Like, would they have had that same experience if I wasn't in the vehicle or whatever the case may be?
That's interesting.
It is interesting. I will say I have had it's kind of helpful having a Caucasian in the car, honestly. I've been pulled over, and more often
The
than not,
fact that you keep saying Caucasian is taking me out.
what the Mayo community, girl? Like, what do you want me to call them?
White. White people.
8.5 by 11s, like what? Like, I don't know.
Ain't nobody. I talking about in this car, bitch. I'm done. You're done.
But anyway, it is nice to have someone from the Caucasian whiteout community in the vehicle, because like it'll really save you from getting a ticket sometimes. Like there was one time I was speeding. I have a habit of speeding sometimes, and I've gotten better about that now, luckily. But numerous speeding tickets and points on my license later. It was one time I got pulled over, and I should have got arrested probably, but luckily I had my other friend Ryan in the vehicle, who is also a 8x5 by 11. And I really think it's because I had him in the car that I did not go to jail, or like worse, honestly, because that officer was not a fan of me.
Oh, but he kind of like peeked in the vehicle.
He was like, okay, all right. So, it's become more apparent now as I've gotten older in my relationships, where like my race kind of plays a bigger part. Is that just a sign of growing up, or is it more of like a sign of the times we're in? I'm not 100% sure. Probably a mixture of both. Like I'm much more cognizant of my blackness now. Like growing up, like I didn't really think about, I mean, yes, I knew I was black because I could look in the mirror and be like, okay, I'm not a Caucasian person. But because I didn't really experience like a tremendous amount of bullying about my race specifically, I didn't really think much about it. But now I'm like, I'm a whole Negro. I have to be very careful what I do and like what I say.
Big nigga.
6'6".
Yes.
I am literally every white mother's either wet dream or nightmare.
Woo! Oh, yes. I can't even, I can't say nothing but facts.
But how about yourself?
So, thinking about my experience, I have a couple of experiences because I lived in a few places. So growing at like Nassau, the community is predominantly black there. You do have white, and I have white ancestry. If you know my last name, you know Irish descent. I have white grandparents, different things like that. So it wasn't like that didn't exist. And I would interact in my private schools and stuff with white kids. But there was never like, we learned a lot about our colonization, though, I will say, in Nassau. So in grade school, in middle school, you learn about how you got here, essentially. And I did not see that when I moved to Georgia.
Let's talk about
Atlanta.
it real quick, though, because the way they skimmed over, it was like, oh my God, slavery, we let them free, we're best friends now. Yeah, some of us were bad, but we're all good. Yay!
Yeah, it almost makes it seem like you learn in, what is it, 1472, Columbus
discovered America or whatever.
And this is why words mean things, because discovered means something totally different than what they taught. But anyway, yeah, so I learned early on that we were colonized by the Europeans. That's why we have a lot of the traditionalisms that they embody. I love tea coming over here, hot tea. People were like, you want a biscuit with that? And I'm just like, it's hot tea. Like, this is what we grew up on. So we just have those. We love football, soccer in American language. Like, these came from the people who colonized us, right? So, but of course, like, you grow your own traditions, and like Caribbean food has nothing to do. Some of it is based in Spaniard culture and different things like that. But anywho, moving to Atlanta, my mom is from Atlanta, and she's from the heart of Atlanta. And whatever that ambrosia salad, whatever that girl said, this is not Atlanta. She grew up in Atlanta. It was actually Atlanta. Atlanta, Georgia was her zip code. So she grew up in the heart of the city. So she was familiar with Atlanta. I was familiar with it too, because we would come visit my grandparents and like all these things. So yeah, when we moved here, we were in two places. So we were initially in downtown Decatur. And if you are familiar with Atlanta at all, downtown Decatur is predominantly white. So I was at DeKalb School for the Arts and all these other things and like different things like that. And so there was a predominantly white crowd, which was a little different for me. I will not lie. Like, even though I have white people in my family, the majority of like people I went to school with and interacted with on a day-to-day basis were black. So coming here in my like preteen years and different things like that and experiencing that, it was like, okay. But what I will say is certain likes and desires and different things that I had in that youthful age were explorative in that time. So for instance, let's say I was listening to rock music. I was listening to all these different type of like alternative things. My parents, my dad was a musician, so we just like loved music. That maybe wasn't so accepted with my black friends back home. They were kind of like, what are you listening to? You're listening to Foo Fighters. Who? Like, you're listening to like Smashing Pumpkins. What? So, and that, it was an art school, first of all. So those people were a little bit more open and receptive to different things. And then, and don't get me wrong, like art students also are terrible human beings. But yeah, they were a little bit more receptive. And then I moved to a predominantly black community. And my dad passed away. My mom moved into a smaller home. Yeah. And that was interesting. Because I was around during the Nuck If You Buck.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. And don't get me wrong, I was already in tune with my blackness. We listened to Roy Ayers. We listened to like the Anita Bakers. All that. Like, we were jamming. So I had this kind of like duality within me where I guess I felt accepted. You know, I didn't really see differences until I got older. So I go to this predominantly black school, and I'm still cool. Instead, I still have white friends that I talk to and hang out with on the weekends and different things like that. And like you said, I would see subtle differences. We would go to the mall and things would be different. The way that we go into stores, the way that they got treated versus the way that I got treated. And I was conscientious enough to be aware, like, this is a fundamental difference in the service that I'm getting versus the service that they're getting. And so, but I wasn't yet strong enough to speak about it. So, because in my mind, I really had a very like peaceful kumbaya image in my head. I won't even lie. Like, I'm not even gonna hold you. And my parents, they talked to me about who I was and instilling like proud tendencies in me for that. But I don't know if it's because it was different with instilling like Caribbean pride, which is black pride. We're black, or like, I don't know where there was a disconnect, but I just always thought like, we are the world, we are the children. Like, we come to make a better place, so let's start healing. Like, that's what I had in my mind as a kid. Even though I knew I was black, on the dance team, in the band, just very black things happened in my life. But when I went to college, I went to a very, very southern college. I went to a PWI, for people who don't know, that's a predominantly white institution. And that was the first time I experienced racism. I was walking with one of my white friends at the time on campus, and these guys in a pickup truck drove by, and they were like, "Get away from that nigger," and just started throwing things out. Now, mind you, we were close to campus. It wasn't even like we were out of town or like not near where the school was. So I'm like, and you know, I'll fight. So, but they were trying to calm me down. And that was my first time really like being like, wow, people don't like this. And then it my experiences kind of grew because I started to like date other nationalities and races. And I would see like, okay, they don't like this. And then politically, I started to get more involved, like In high school, I did join my SGA group, and we would talk about like black things. This was before like the real rise of Black Lives Matter. But in college, that was like the start of it. And so I really got involved, and I really like learned the trepidations and like things we were going through and how it was going to be a part of my life. This wasn't history at this point. We weren't talking about what my parents went through or my grandparents. We were talking about what I'm going through currently as a black person in America or on this earth, period. And even thinking about those experiences, I'm now remembering how when I was younger and certain things would happen when I traveled with my family, I couldn't really understand or break down what was happening, but as an adult I could. So like traveling internationally and going these different places and people telling me you don't want to go to this area by yourself at night, or even seeing it, people what some to the naked eye would see as infatuation was more so like a you feel like you're at a zoo. And you're on an exhibit and they're just like studying you and figuring out, and you're just like, what? So yeah, but I was able to like understand, and I say this specifically like this because I know that it is tough to trust when you have been burned so many times. But I was able to gather an understanding that the people that were for me, and the people that are not, black or white. Do I have as many white friends as I had prior to January 6th? No. Do I have as many black friends prior to the 2020 election? No. I do not.
Both. Okay, listen. Politics will really open your eyes to the people around you.
Yeah, we're gonna have a conversation about that one day. It's just like we can disagree about a steak needing to be medium rare. We can disagree about that. I didn't say well done.
That's fair. Yeah, no.
We can disagree about it being rare, medium rare. We can disagree about that. But if you say well done, we're done.
If you say well done, you're a serial killer.
You're someone who eats, you open the Twix package and you eat both at the same time.
Like you like pain. Like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I used to get stuff well done, mainly because my parents were psychopaths and they got stuff well
done.
Oh,
I believe that. We can disagree about stuff like that. What we cannot disagree about is whether my black ass life matters.
Okay.
Whether you acknowledge the fact that my race is disproportionately being targeted by a specific group that has an immense power in this nation. We cannot disagree about that. So yeah, we can go outside and say the sky is blue or red, whatever. But those are things we cannot disagree about. And so that was eye-opening. Again, it was like a pivotal point in my life, being someone who had white friends and understanding that the experiences that we have are different, and sometimes we are adverse to talking about those differences, right? Mm-hmm. Like we try to maintain cohesiveness and peace, especially in our friendships. This is why a lot of times unless someone is like either A, really good with communication, or B, argumentative, people will bottle things up inside. This is friendship, relationship, any kind of relationship, period, romantic, platonic, whatever, because they want to keep the peace. Mm-hmm. And they know that they care about this person, so they want to keep them around. But I think one of the most important things you can do is talk about those differences and acknowledge that they exist. Mm-hmm. And really understand we are 2 or 3 or 4 or however many human beings, because everybody on the earth is having a different human experience, honestly. Even as black people, I'm having a different experience as a black woman than you're having as a black man. Mm-hmm. So,
you know, if any of your other race friends say I don't see color, kick them, drop them.
Yeah, and so they can see the color black.
False.
Knock them right out, and now then they will see the color black. I bet they'll see that color when they pass out.
Oh, listen, before I knew what fake allyism, sure, totally. Was when people used to say I didn't see race, I'm like, oh my god, that means so much to me that you don't see the most, like, one of the most important things about me. Like, honestly, like, that's so sweet. I thought it just feels good to know that you don't see me. And then when I got a little older, I was like, wait, hold on a second, that's not actually very good either.
If you don't see me, how can you acknowledge me?
Okay, acknowledge. How can you acknowledge my experience? What I go through.
It's an invalidation. Right. To me, it's a cop out. I'm gonna just say out. Okay. It's a cop out, and that the reason
you don't see race, you gonna see my back turned to you as I walk away.
Like, you gonna see me race away from this relationship. But yeah, and I mean, it's sometimes it's nurture, the way that people are raised. I've had friends who have parents who they grew up on communes. And they say stuff like that. And I'm not saying that the only people who say stuff like that are on communes. But I am saying my particular experience is with someone who was on a commune. And they were like, we don't see color. We don't see gender. We don't see... Okay, girl. And I don't see you as a friend anymore. So now we both not seeing. Okay. We both not seeing nothing.
Okay.
So, because ain't nothing to talk about. How would you say the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement affected your life in, like, some of the really big relationships you thought you had in your life with white people or non-black people? Yeah, how can you say that you felt after you began to get really involved with that? Because we were heavy in it.
I was ready.
You were ready to fight. Okay. I had to tell Miki. So I've been, like, in this fight. I do philanthropy and different things, and I've been working with the Black Lives Matter movement for a while. Just, like, even different chapters from my school and stuff like that. And when I tell you, we went to the first rally, and Miki was ready to burn Atlanta down
to the ground.
Blow torches. Fireworks. Let's just
hold on. Pause. Pause.
Burn it down and start over.
Keisha Lance Bottoms hits me up in my DMs. I did not vandalize anything.
No, you did not vandalize anything.
The drive was there. I was angry enough.
You were angry enough,
but I took my black ass home. Okay, I was at the house.
Yes, let's make the clarification that he did not physically do anything to the city, but. You know how they have kids in therapy and they draw the pictures of what they're really thinking? Okay, I could have seen you draw and burn it down.
But we have to give that disclaimer because Killer Mike, T.I., nor Keisha Lance Bottoms hit me up.
T.I. better not. You know what? Nope. We trying to make it. So I'm not going to say nothing about that. But, yeah.
When the Black Lives Matter thing came up, so just give a little background with me in that... relationship with the organization and the movement and stuff like that. As mentioned earlier, I grew up mainly in Caucasityville. So, and let's see, I want to say the Black Lives Matter movement like really gained steam right around, I don't remember when this exactly happened. It was either right after I graduated high school or right when I was graduating high school, where Trayvon Martin, correct? It's been a while.
I can't. You've graduated way after me, so
2014. So whatever, it was right around that time. That's when it like first kind of hit me that I was like, wow, America's racist as fuck. I still didn't get super big into it at that point in time, mainly because I was young and I didn't really know how to get involved. And internet. I mean, yes, the internet existed and stuff like that, but it wasn't nearly what it is now and is accessible. I also didn't really have social media and stuff like that at that point, but I would say like the real hit there came in 2020. Unfortunately, as we all know, like we had the Breonna Taylor situation and George Floyd and things like that. And that's where like really like my drive to get out there and like have a voice and like really fight for changes kind of came out. Coincidentally, the year before this, I had made a lot of new friends. You know, it was kind of like one of those summers where you just like meeting new people and going out and living your best life. Like I had a really, what I thought, a pretty good solid group of friends. Like we went out often. We, you know, went to clubs, we went drinking, we just hung out. It was like really cool. Me and my overly optimistic, well, okay, I almost said overly optimistic, but that's a lie. Me and my anxious attachment, I was like, oh my God, I have friends. I have a friend. Not that I didn't have friends before, but I was like, oh my God, I have a friend group. Like, this is really cool. Like, I didn't really have like an adult friend group just yet.
And these were people who had like really similar interests to you, like
right,
music
like
wise,
music-wise, yeah.
and all that, yeah.
I didn't really like have like a college experience, so I didn't have like that college group of friends or whatever. Like, most of my friends just came from like work or whatever, so it was like nice to meet like people who had similar interests and like have this group that we had like this camaraderie and group chat and all that other great stuff. But then Black Lives Mattered. And Black Lives Mattered, and not near one of them Caucasians showed up for me. Like, and it really hit me this I think it was the exact first day of the riots down here in Atlanta, which once again I played no part in. I was home swiftly by 4:00. I have the receipts because I wasn't playing these games. I don't want to get maced or tear
Keisha Les
gassed.
Bobs has moved on to DC, big and better things. She is in DC handling her black woman business.
No comment. No comment on that one. But anyway, and it hit me. So I came back after from, you know, say her name and all that great, you know, stuff that we were doing out there, which was really empowering. Like going to a rally and stuff like that and fighting for what you care about is really empowering. But moving past that, two of my friends, well, alleged friends, decided that, oh, we're also going to go down to the rally. Not because they wanted to support Black Lives, but because they're nosy and wanted to see what was popping off.
What?
And the only reason I know that is because they took a picture, like they were making it like a night on the town. They're like, oh, me and my boys going to the rally, like bandana up or whatever, and taking selfies and making it this big event. And I'm just like,
these are the things that really get your ass.
Listen,
they really don't understand why we're angry.
And at that point, this is pre-therapy. This is before I had to regulate my emotions. And frankly, hell, I'm in therapy now and I barely can do that. But
you're doing better,
I guess. Shit, almost fucking up everything. Like my blood, like I was furious. I was just like, I know these folks ain't they for real. Like, how are you gonna just go out there and just be out there just throwing fireworks or just having a good time, acting like it's the Bonnaroo or Coachella night? Like what? Like, excuse me. So I get on Instagram. I'm dogging these folks out or whatever. And then they're, you know, the other group of, like, the other people in the group were, like, trying to play, like, you know, like, devil's advocate or be like, oh, you know, they didn't mean it like that. Ooh, they weren't, of course they support you. Like, you know, we love you, like, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, y'all can keep it. You can keep all of whatever this bullshit that y'all, this false allyism,
okay,
allegiance, whatever, okay. You can keep all of that shit to yourself. You know, it really like hurt me because I thought like we worked like closer than that. Like I thought we had like a good friendship. Like I genuinely felt connected to these people. Like we did a lot of stuff together, like not just going to shows, but like birthday parties and like video game nights and meeting significant others or whatever the case may be. Like it felt like I really had like a group of friends. And then, you know, like I said, after that night, it just kind of opened my eyes about the people who were around me. I am very grateful for that experience. Especially in these past few years, at first it made me kind of sad because I was like, I don't have any real friends, but it really made me dwindle down my friend group and like really meet like, well, not meet, but like open up room for better like relationships. Like the friends I have now like are probably the best friends I've ever had. Like, you know, you, our mutual friend, like a few other friends I have, like I genuinely feel like I do have that friend group now. But yeah, after that experience, it really brought me down because I was just like, you know, why don't they care? Why don't they care about like my life or like my family's life or like my nephew's life, whatever? Like I took it very personally. But you know, everything happens for a reason because then I realized that they were Trump supporting, anti-vaccine, crazy people. It's crazy how people will just hide these things about themselves, and it just comes out.
For Goya, and you don't even know.
You don't even know that Kuna for Goya. It's crazy. So be careful who you hang out with. Listen. I say that first year or so of your friendship or relationship, you need to keep 2 eyes open. Keep a good eye on the things they say, how they move, where they're moving, the company they keep. Because if I wasn't just being like blindsided with like the excitement of like these new friendships, I probably would have caught on to them a little sooner. But wasn't thinking, was just super excited. This happens in. I know this can happen in relationships. I've also had it happen in my relationships. Where it's like butterflies, and this is so great. I'm having such a good time, and you're turning a blind eye to the fact that like their uncle might have dropped the N-word, and you just didn't think about it, or they have a Confederate flag wallet, and you didn't really like process. Like, wait, hold on a second. So the signs were there. Hindsight, 50-50 or 20-20, whatever people fucking say. Like I probably could have caught on to it sooner. I just didn't. But once again, it was a good growing experience. I'm happy I experienced it. And if you're listening to this podcast, Caucasian friends who I used to have, fuck you.
Retweet. So I think you brought up a good point where you talked about the butterflies and different, because we associate that with like romanticism and like, but you can have that in friendships too. You can really vibe with someone and really have these similar interests, and you're like, man, this person gets me, like, because they speak to something that either is not always acknowledged with other people, or they're just heightening the way that you feel. And so I think it is important to like pay attention to the way that they move and show up. And I think it's important to have these conversations like you have. If you feel like you have, and yes, I will agree that there are certain friend groups in your life. There are people that serve particular purposes, I think, in the sense of you may have the one friend you can call for like that solid advice or whatever. But in the instances where you feel like it's artificial and you don't want it to be artificial or superficial, like we just go out and we never talk about anything. We just go out partying or clubbing or drinking, or they just come to my house and we watch movies, or we just hang out. Maybe we do extracurricular activities or anything of that sort, and you feel like you cannot have these conversations and it's plaguing you because you can't. Because in some levels, people can have those types of relationships and be okay. Like they know that person plays that particular role in their life and they don't look for anything more from that person. Mm-hmm. But if it is coming to a point where you want to have these conversations, or you want to know how they feel about certain things, and you fear you can't have the conversation, that may be a sign that you're not as close as you thought. Mm-hmm. And that's based off of the fact that you feel like, not because you don't know how to communicate it, but because you feel like you don't know how they're going to react to it. Mm-hmm. If they have the conversation. You need to be talking to I have my lights on a timer, sorry guys, you couldn't see it, but my lights just came on. You need to be having these conversations with people. I learned that lesson earlier on. I'm thankful for that, but it was also a hard lesson because, like I said, I did grow up and I knew I was black, and I was proud to be black, and I was proud of my heritage, and I was proud of like who I was. But even thinking back on who I was in the youth, people used to try to disassociate me from being black. They used to say, you're exotic, you're Caribbean,
gross. Disgusting.
You're all these like words that make me literally sick to my stomach now that I think about them. But you're young and you just don't understand. Like, they're trying to disassociate you from something that you are. Mm-hmm. I'm black. Okay. I'm black. I'm black. Like, for real. And so I did lose some friendships as well in that rise. I lost friendships when I first really, really got into my activism phase in college. But I lost, those were like friends in college, and you just know we're not going to be friends forever. But the ones that actually really hurt, I would say two were in that 2019-2020 phase where I got back out there on the front lines and was really advocating and having those difficult conversations. And my friends, some of my white friends, ex-friends now, were letting me know that it wasn't that deep for them. Mm-hmm. And it may not be that deep for you, but I'm drowning.
Okay.
So you need to understand that it's deep. It's very deep. And this whole devil's advocate, you can keep that.
Either you with me or you're not.
You with me or you're not. Because the point, people's, again, knowing the meaning of words and the meaning of things, the purpose of playing devil's advocate and the reason that it was perpetuated in common controversial situations is because it's to point out the invalidity or test the validity of an argument. And for you to argue with me about my life mattering, period.
When we doing that?
Is wrong. Point blank, period. That's in any type of scenario. So, like, you playing devil's advocate lets me know you don't really understand that the discussion we're having shouldn't be a discussion. It shouldn't be a discussion whether Black Lives Matter or not. That should not be a discussion. Whether a human being who exists on this earth is a tax-paying, working, even if you don't pay taxes, fuck all that. If you're a human being on this earth that they put you on and you ain't harming nobody, why the hell are we having a discussion about your life mattering? And even if you in jail and you did harm somebody, your life still do matter. Because that's what jail is supposed to be. It's supposed to be rehabilitation.
Well, we all know that's not true.
There's grace for everybody. Everybody on this earth gets grace. We all make mistakes. So even if I have done wrong, my life still matters. So that's why I'm like, nah, you ain't gonna play the devil's advocate with me. We're not even gonna have this conversation. So yeah, I did lose some people who I revered as very close, as borderline family. I had let them into the innermost parts of my life for a long time, and it hurt because friendship breakups are real. You have to mourn those relationships as they dissolve, just as you do romantic relationships. So that was kind of tough, but I'm like you. I'm thankful that it happened because it let me know who was really for me. It opened me to have room for the people and the relationships that were supposed to be around me for the long haul. So, yeah, I'm thankful for that. Ask your friends, your white friends,
your 8.5 by 11s.
Where were they?
Your colonizers.
On January 6th.
Your Mayo community.
Where were they during the Black Lives Matter
your Pillsbury Doughboys
rise? Ask them. Have the conversation. Ask them, do they see color? Because that's going to fuck them up, I feel like. If you go to a white person and be like, do you see color? They're going to automatically think it's a trick question and say, no, I don't see color.
My smart ass would say, I'm colorblind.
I actually am colorblind, so I would say I'm actually colorblind. But I think that's going to trip them up. But the people who down for you, they're going to be like, you black, I'm white, bitch. What they got to do with the price of tea in China?
Okay. But also on the same note, ask your black friends, do they see their own color?
Do they see? That is a good...
Because some people out here really be thinking, and listen, it's super optimistic and I love that for you,
skinfolk ain't kinfolk.
I need y'all to understand, y'all can't do what these other people can do. I used to be that mindset of like, oh, I'm fine, I'm just like them. You're not, and I don't want you out here hemmed up. Just because Jimmy John and Michael Smith did it does not mean you can do it as well.
Okay, just because you hanging with them and you got the money like them and all
dress
that
like
jazz,
them and talk like them, that don't make you one of them.
Listen, I may say this is my hot take, and this goes for every community. You should have a group of friends that identify with the community that you're in. It should not, your group of friends should not exclude the community you identify with.
Okay.
That's black, white, LGBTQI, blurs, black nerds, all. You should have people that can understand the perspective and the experience that you're having in this life to be able to connect with. And so I'm just saying, if you look around and your plate looking a little beige, as a black person, you may want to have a conversation with yourself and just figure out why you're looking a little beige over there. But that is very important too, to talk to your black friends as well, because I too had the same conversations with them in certain capacities and had the same result where I had to realize you don't get it. And it pains me even more to let you go.
Which is not really like a 100% fault on that person. We're in America. We're from childbirth perpetuated that, hey, you should forget that you're black and all the shitty things that we do to you. So
until we do the shitty things
right,
we
do right to you.
Up.
So, have the conversations. Don't be too harsh. Maybe you can enlighten one of your black friends. I was a whitewashed black person for a period of my life. So
I didn't say it, people.
It's fine. I can take responsibility for it. I can take responsibility for it. I was an Abercrombie and Fitch. Actually, that's not true. Abercrombie and Fitch was not meant for me.
No,
as a black,
you're pretty tall
gentleman.
You were, but you were.
But I was an American Eagle. Okay,
you were an American Eagle. You were.
My parents tried to get me on FUBU, and I was like, "What the fuck is this? I don't want FUBU. Like what?" Fat Farm. Okay, I don't want this. I want.
Wow. Meanwhile, one of my favorite outfits was a FUBU outfit, and I'll never forgive the girl who asked me to borrow it, and she moved with my freaking favorite FUBU outfit. Oh, I'll never forget her. If I see you in the street and I recognize you was on site.
Do people still wear FUBU in like Fat Farm and stuff like that?
FUBU is still around. Oof, I think I saw FUBU in Walmart the other day, but
that checks. Actually, I feel like that's where I got that FUBU outfit. I feel like that's accurate, actually.
But no, FUBU used to be big. I don't know about Fat Farm. I know FUBU was around. It got revived because it got sold. I'm not sure if it's still black owned, honestly. I don't know what's going on with FUBU, but I know they sold it. They being the black man who owned it, sold it. And yeah, and I hadn't seen it for a while, and then I saw it pop up. I saw it resurface in pop culture, like on Instagram and stuff, with like the what do you call them? Insta girls? What do you call Visco?
Visco girls.
Visco girls. Yeah. I saw it begin to pop up in that phase a few years ago with the clunky ass shoes that make you look like you walking on rocks.
Tragedy.
I saw that, and then I was like, where are they getting this FUBU from? And I went to the website, and I saw that FUBU website was back up, and it was an absorbent amount of this for what they wanted. So, and then I saw it in Walmart a few months ago, so I don't know what's going on. But yeah, we all have been there. I have dealt personally with a friend just like you too back in the day, where they kind of did not acknowledge their blackness, and I had to be like, you're black. And it's a conversation that you don't want to do aggressive. Well, let me just rephrase that because I don't know what anybody else want to do. It was a conversation that I want to do aggressively, but I just needed them to know, like, you're exhibiting characteristics and traits that make it seem like you're not acknowledging your roots and culture to the outside world, which is important, because if you don't know who you are, and this is not the conversation of acting white per se, or you're talking white or whatever they say. This was a full-fledged, I don't want anything to do with blackness. And that's not okay. Because we have beauty in our culture. We have so much magnificence. We are the magic, clearly. Why
Lit, okay. Everybody wants to be us. What? Like, hello?
So, I am glad, though, that, again, the two sides to the coin. I'm glad that people acknowledge that we are the magic and black people are the bomb. But in being the bomb, people want to capture you so they can set it off. So, that's a whole nother conversation. But, yeah, so final advice to let's say someone who is trying to think about or navigate the wiles of being black. Let's say specifically for you, a black man in this world, and they tend to have white friends, or they tend to gravitate towards what would be quote unquote considered whiter things in music. Let's say techno or everything. And they're not acknowledging their blackness. And they have black friends, but they do have white friends, and maybe they're questioning after Black Lives Matter, or after hearing this, or after seeing all of the gruesome things that have happened to us in history and continue to happen to us, where their white friends saying, can you give them advice on how to navigate the conversation?
Before I start, techno is actually made by black queer people.
It is, but who capitalized on it?
We're bringing it back. That's fine. Don't worry about that. We'll take it right back real quick. My advice really is, one, embrace your blackness. That's something I struggled with, something I still struggle with sometimes. Just accept the fact that you're black. I know, if you grew up around a lot of Caucasian people or whatever, it'd be a little difficult, to accept that you are different and that you might be treated differently. It's not like an easy pill to swallow. Like, no one wants to be like, oh yeah, I'm totally okay being treated differently and being possibly murdered in the streets. It's totally nice. I'm not gonna say it's nice. It's not like a fun realization to have. So, be kind with yourself, be gentle with that, and mainly just surround yourself with actual allies. Like, watch how people move, watch the company they keep, watch the things they say, the things they watch, whatever the case may be. I don't, believe that things can have race. Like, I don't think music has a race. I don't think TV shows have a race. Like, you like what you like. Like, I don't think oh, I listen to Waka Flocka Flame. Like, this is super black people music. Like, it's not. It's made by a black person, sure, but it's I don't think you can talk a race. You can't talk white. You can't talk black. I mean, okay, I guess you can speak in politics, but different conversation. And then final thing I'm going to say from just seeing the world and from our conversation and stuff like that, it might seem that we just do not like Caucasian people. I keep saying Caucasian, white people, Caucasian people, the Mayo community, whatever. Not everyone is bad. I have a lot of really good friends who are of not my race. My current partner is not my race. I do not think everyone is bad. Not everyone of that community is going to treat you poorly. Not everyone's going to not, embrace your differences. Surround yourself with people who are going to celebrate your differences and also honor that. Mm-hmm. My person I'm currently dating, like I said, he's not black, but he doesn't make me feel invisible for it. He understands. He doesn't firsthand understand the struggles I go through every day, but he's willing to listen. He's willing to try to learn from it and different ways that he can do to make my experience here better. So just like I said, surround yourself with good people. The people that you do surround yourself with, just watch them, see how they move. Like I said, if they pull out their wallet and it's not Caucasian, Jesus Christ, a Confederate flag on their wallet, maybe you should have some second guesses or some questions or whatever. But don't lose hope. Not everyone's out here to get you. There are people out here who will respect you, who will take care of you, who will love you for exactly who you are. Your big, beautiful black ass self.
That's fair. Keep hope alive. Yeah, people who support you is what it sounds like I'm hearing. People who genuinely support you and don't make you feel unseen. So I would say that it may be difficult in the beginning, but it's something that has to be done, and it will save you from a world of hurt or, having to heal in the future if you just have the conversations when you think about them. When you're starting to have that inclination that maybe this person doesn't really understand you or your experiences or what you're going through, it's important to acknowledge that within yourself and not try to bury it. And we have no generalizations around here. We don't generalize. So like Miki said, all white people are not bad. I have some really good white friends in my corner that I trust wholeheartedly, and I constitute as real friends, and we go out and we have these experiences in life together, and I trust them and I talk to them and I hold them and revere them as accountability partners and a lot of things the same way that I do with my black friends. So it's not, we don't say that you cannot have these experiences just because they're different from the people in your community. But what anchored me, and I've always been communicative, so maybe that's why I was drawn to it, was having the conversations about it and really asking the questions that I felt would help ease the way that I trusted and felt about this individual. And that is with honestly any friendship. If you're feeling like someone is not acknowledging who you are, they're only acknowledging half. When I used to have friends who would only acknowledge the fact that I'm Caribbean, okay, do you acknowledge the fact that Caribbeans are black? Do you understand that we are all living similar experiences? And so you should be comfortable enough to have them. And if you don't know how to have those conversations, maybe try to seek help from people who you trust that you can have those conversations with first. That may be people in your community, there may be other black people, there may be other white people you trust a little bit more. Just try to figure out how to have the conversation though with them, because if you never talk about it and you just assume, you're going to be going based off of actions. And then one day they may like fold their napkin the wrong way or do something. You be like, racist. It's like, no, girl, we're in old Dixieland or something. I don't know. And we're doing, this is tradition. You don't know. So you just can't assume. Just like we don't want them to assume, you cannot assume of them. So that would be my advice. Don't couple everybody together. We don't generalize around these parts, so we're not saying all white people are bad. We're just saying to be aware of the company you keep, and we wanted to acknowledge that on this there Juneteenth 2022. Yeah, going up. So if you have any kind of advice on dealing with interracial friendships, if you have any comments on the things that we discussed today, feel free to hit us up on social media. You can find us on Twitter at Funny Podcast. That's FUNI Podcast. We're also on Instagram, The Friendship University, and you can email us at friendshipuniversitypodcast@gmail.com. If you have any topics you want to discuss, feel free to email us. And please, wherever you're listening, rate us. If you want more people to hear about us, if you want more individuals to have access to us, if you want more episodes, if you want more content from us, it's really important. These ratings help us because it boosts the way that we're seen on these platforms. And so, leave us, we will hope 5 stars. If it's less than 5 stars, just email us and tell us your quorums and we can talk it out through email, girl. But yes, just hit us up there. I'll be posting to Twitter later this week to figure out what you all think about interracial friendships. So thank you for tuning in, Mickey and us. We love you. Ask your friends where they were on January 6th. We out.